You're listening to Stellar Success, Leveling Up for Medical Pros with Dr. Tudor Francu. Join us as we explore how medical professionals can achieve stellar success in all areas of life. It's time to level up.
Dr. Arora, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you, Dr. Nice to be here. Dr. Francu, sorry, Dr. Francu.
Thanks for coming over. I want to start with a little kind of overview of your career. Just give us a little snippet of where you started, what kind of journey you had and where you are now.
Sure. So my career started in Canada. I studied medicine at McMaster University and started my career in ophthalmology. I did my residency training in ophthalmology in the University of Alberta. And pretty much right after my residency training, I chose to pursue a research and business pathway as a physician. I had done a lot of research during both residency and prior, and I want to apply those skills in the pharmaceutical industry as my first venture. And so since graduating, I then moved on to the pharmaceutical industry and worked as a medical advisor and a consultant for some pharmaceutical companies. And then when I moved to the US in 2021, I really started to get deeper into the opportunities in the pharma industry, but also as an entrepreneur. And so, I always kind of grew in my career and tried to grow in my professional area of focus, but then, explore opportunities on the side, potentials, side projects and other, assets to build, to learn, grow, build wealth. So I think I've continued to grow in the pharmaceutical industry here in the US, and now I'm doing drug development, helping bring new products to market through the pharma companies, biotechs, and drug and device companies. But then on my own, I've now started to become an entrepreneur in the health and wellness space, and tying that into real estate now as well, and think about real estate as an avenue to bring health to the home, but also to create great value through real estate.
That's great. You're speaking my language here.
Interesting, yes.
So, what projects are you involved presently? Because I know you're kind of extended yourself into the business arena of medicine. And I am very interested to tell my audience about how can a medical graduate can even comprehend of thinking about going into this field. It's not something that we learn. It's not something that we're educated on. How did you become interested and how did you learn to do what you're doing now?
Yeah, great question. So, I think maybe we can divide my areas of interest into three areas, and we can talk about each of them separately, just for simplicity. So the first is I'm a physician executive in the pharmaceutical industry in drug development. That right there, there's a lot of great pathways for physicians. So we can spend time talking about that if you want. I can do that one first. The second topic would be health and wellness entrepreneur. That itself, a lot of physicians do this work as well. So it's a great space for physicians. A lot of other healthcare providers are in this space as well. So that's the second bucket. We can talk about the third bucket. I see very few physicians in, but it's a great sign. I think it's more of a avenue for investment, and that's real estate. And so, real estate, a lot of physicians are investors in real estate. We've tried to be a little creative and tie the real estate with wellness, but for simplicity, it's real estate. So from those three buckets, should I talk about one first and kind of?
Yeah. Let's take them one at a time, because they're different. They're different avenues that someone can take, and
exactly.
The podcast refers to the people like yourself that are successful in different areas of medicine. You kind of branched out a little bit more, but I want to give people options of what is out there, and you're a perfect example of a successful person who does all of those. So let's take it one at a time.
Thank you. Yeah. So I think the first one here is interesting. It's working in the pharmaceutical industry is a little bit like joining the corporate world in America. You enter an industry where you yourself have a well-defined role. You're working in a multi-matrix cross-functional team. There are different departments working alongside you, and then often there's a reporting structure. You are reporting to people that are senior to you, and you have people reporting to you. So one needs to be really aware of their contribution to the company, how do they add value. And as a physician, there's so many ways, and I think there is a lot of learning about the corporate culture, but to pursue this career, I think for any physician, it's very doable. What I find now the pharma industry really values is a bit of specialization. And it's because I think the industry is becoming so focused on niche drugs that solve, X, Y, Z disease. So it's become more focused on physicians who have that subject matter expertise. So certainly if a physician was a generalist, even spending a little bit of time to focus on one or two areas of interest, that can go a long way. For example, Many of my friends who are GPs, when they became focused on obesity medicine, that became a great avenue to enter the obesity side of pharmaceutical drug development. So that's a nice way that a generalist can become a specialist, and the specialists I think are most attractive to the pharma industry because of that subject matter expertise that they really can't get anywhere else. Of course, the physician in general has a wealth of knowledge as a care provider, but that extra expertise goes a long way. And then within the pharma industry, I think one should consider, as a physician, what do we really want to contribute? What suits our personality and our interests and our career ambitions? And so within the industry, I've seen physicians work a lot in medical affairs, which is really about knowledge exchange and knowledge dissemination, as well as building relationships with colleagues and influential colleagues, working with key opinion leaders to really influence the practice of medicine. So medical affairs, I think, is really kind of on the later end of development, because when a product is on the verge of being approved, or it is approved, that's when medical affairs really takes over and really brings the learnings around that product to the community, to patients, to physicians, and then brings that knowledge and experience from the physicians back to the company to allow for continuous improvement. So that's medical affairs. I started my career in medical affairs and I really love it. Right now I'm doing drug development, which is a little bit more earlier in terms of the pipeline, in terms of the asset's life cycle. And for me, I like that because I enjoy the aspect of the operational aspect of doing these large multi-center trials. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trials are very intriguing to me because we work in a large team. We work with many physicians across the world to gather this valuable data and to really one day hopefully come with new cures for patients, new diagnostic techniques, new ways of treating conditions. So I think that knowledge discovery is why I chose research this venture. But what's great is as a physician, our foundation allows us to have a lot of opportunity to move around. These two departments are probably where I see the most physicians, but there are many more functions. So I've seen physicians go into law, get involved with the regulatory side. Some are more on the promotional marketing side. So there's so many functions. And I think if a physician wants that corporate experience, it is different from patient care, but it still always comes back to the patient and having the mindset of what is best for the patient.
Yeah. I have a little comment here with physicians working in the corporate world. It's not something that many people enjoy, to be honest with you. I haven't seen anybody who is very fond of working in a very large corporate structure in medicine, but it's a way of being successful in that thing too. What about the health and wellness space?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is a really interesting space. I think for me, this space really caught my eye living in Los Angeles. Los Angeles has a very unique culture where people are so driven by mental, physical, emotional health and community, and there really is a strong wellness community growing in Los Angeles. That influenced me to take a lot of the concepts I've learned from the pharmaceutical industry in terms of developing great products, bring great products to market, evaluating the right products for the right patients, and then bring in that skill set to solve the problem of how can we age in our best way, how can we age gracefully and with health, and how can we prolong our health and prolong our wellness. What can we do to be preventative and to fight the effects of aging? And this is a new space that I think a lot of people are starting to develop new solutions towards. Something as simple as vitamins it can be a great starting point. Moving on to things that are more advanced, like things like stem cells, exosomes that are coming down the pipeline, and it's such an interesting, fast-moving space with a lot of regulatory challenges in terms of how these new potential products will eventually enter this market. I think that's one of the challenges of the space. But to me, I think the space is most intriguing because our company tries to take concepts of being preventative and anti-aging and then appeal to the consumer. We try to make it fun and align with the consumer's interests. A lot of patients, they want to feel good, they want to look good, they want to be skinny, they want to have muscle mass, they want to have libido. So some of these basic general health optimization principles are what drive us. We try to find solutions to get people there, whether it's a lifestyle change, whether it's a product, whether it's some other practice, music or sound healing. There are so many avenues, and I think it's an area where when we put our attention and the patients have their attention there, I think we all learn together and really optimize health that way.
Yeah, it's almost a little bit contradictory, I would say, those days. The fact that the development of new drugs, it's kind of counterintuitive to someone who works in a health and wellness space, because most of the activities in that space refer to prevention of aging, of medical issues, of chronic diseases, and all this stuff, where developing drugs, it's more of a symptomatic approach to a disease, not necessarily going to, behind the doors of it. But it's definitely something that everybody, should do and could look into, both sides of it. What about real estate?
Yeah, so shifting into real estate, for us, this just started as a side hobby and a passion and a way to invest. I had done some projects in Canada, and they were good learning experiences. But what was different about the U.S. is that I started to realize that there is a great opportunity in real estate when one tries to create value through renovations and flipping. There's an opportunity when you can buy a property that is distressed, or the seller just needs to get rid of it, or there's a situation where a property is undervalued, and there can be an opportunity to modernize the property, improve its livability, and then increase the value of it. Create potential profit for the investors, but then of course for the future family, also create a beautiful environment. What we really believe is, on top of modernizing a home and making it more functional and a great experience, we want to also incorporate wellness into the home. So our company is called Nuvo Life, and then with the homes we build a Nuvo Zen zone. And I think it's just that little zone of the house to apply that attention to yourself, to your health and well-being, incorporating some of the new science. I'm sure you're well aware of the interest in cold plunges and sauna, steam room, even red light therapy, physical massage, lymphatic massage. Some of those physical modalities, a lot of wellness people believe that, with some consistency, some application, it can improve our health. And we think that health starts at home, and those habits and that attention can be done at home. So even just building that little zone, even if it's a 5x5 part of the home that is just for wellness, that's part of our principle with this company, to always try to encourage and build that for our clients in their homes.
I see. So you're basically buying opportunities like this for properties that can be improved that way.
Exactly.
Resell them to interested people.
For the most part, resell. As an investor, you always want to evaluate the market, right, and the timing of any decision. So a lot of them, we think reselling is the best method, but there are some cases where we keep a property and we try to actually create a rental property. One property we have, we wanted to turn it into a wellness property where it could use as a rental for people on Airbnb, for example, but they also can experience the wellness. So it's almost a wellness retreat experience with their vacation, combining that experience. So yeah, we're trying to be creative with how this real estate evolves, and let each property can, have its own journey of what's appropriate for the market, the timing, the profits for the investors, etc.
Yeah, that's a great concept. And I think, it's probably a new trend out there in real estate to create this kind of retreats where people can come in and, just spend a detox amount of time, let's say, in the Zen zone, like you said.
Detox.
Now, tell me a little about yourself. So I'm interested to see what is that you think it's unique to your personality and your way to approach life that brought you to be open to this kind of, opportunities out there, either in wellness or real estate or, drugs or, new companies, new startups. What is it in you that you think it's very important to go for those things?
Mm-hmm. It's a great question, and I think there are probably several characteristics and kind of formative experiences in my life that probably contribute to this interest of mine. But I think one maybe unifying concept is always trying to improve things for others and for our society. I think working towards creating value without even financial constraint. Imagine just a blue sky. The goal is just to make things better. I think that's always a foundational belief of mine. Of course, we want to have profit, and that's what makes things sustainable. So those layers come in later. But starting with making things better and adding value, and I think that's a foundation. And then part of that too comes with the realization that we as a community are so infinite in our abilities to learn, to contribute, to find solutions to things. So I think being resourceful and also not feeling limited is part of my personality, to also step outside the box and take some of those risks. Because what one may feel limited and one may feel they are taking on something risky. But to me, I think it's actually an opportunity that may need additional supporters, for example, and may need to get additional buy-in. But the opportunity is there, and I think that flow of contribution of resources, I've always believed in it, and that's why I love working with other people on all these projects, and working with talented people. I think we can solve so many problems in this world. So I think it's that those two combinations of me at my core trying to improve things, but then realizing I can't do it alone, and I want to learn from others. And so bringing people into these projects, whether they are an investor, whether they're my reporting senior director or executive director, like these amazing people, when they influence me in the direction of all these projects, that's really what keeps me going, what makes the project shine. So those are some of the main aspects, but just keeping it even simpler as a physician. I think part of taking on any new opportunity and trying to make things better, I think, has come down to having a strong work ethic, having values that you want to do what's right, do what's ethical, do what's good for others. Those things are pretty much assumed. Those things are pretty much common amongst all physicians. So I think that background that I have in taking care of patients will always be there as my foundation. And then taking the step to discover and learn new things, I think it's also part of our nature as physicians. We're always continuing our medical education, our professional development. And so I take those same principles to enter any industry and help that industry to evolve by taking little steps towards what is the next horizon on this industry. Well, how will this industry grow and become innovative and really serve others in the best way?
It's very interesting that talking to a lot of people like yourself, the ability of someone to be successful relies on a very simple thing, like you mentioned, the ability of distinguish a challenge into an opportunity and transform that challenge into a successful opportunity. People like you and entrepreneurs in medicine in general, I think, are very accustomed of transforming and thinking outside the box of how can they take a no and transforming into a yes. And it's I think it's a life principle in general for you guys and for all of us like that. The fact that we don't take no for an answer, or you don't take a no for an answer, and you always find a way to make things work out of nothing. Which brings me to another question, that I think it's very important for success in general here, is how do you deal with failures? How do you deal with setbacks? Can you give us an example of something that didn't work out?
Yeah. Let's think.
Because people learn from those things rather than happy episodes in life,
Absolutely. I fully agree. Yeah, I think one recent example that really stood out was involved with one of our drug development programs, one of the studies. I had a goal to optimize one of our team processes. We had a certain system, and I thought we should really optimize this. It's just not flowing well, and so we had several hours and hours of meetings and workshops on taking what we were doing and bringing to something else. And then in the end, we actually could not implement a solution for regulatory reasons. That there were other restrictions from a regulatory standpoint for our industry that limited us. And so to me, I felt that was difficult to deal with, and it was a bit defeating after all the effort, all the great people had put into creating a solution that we thought would be better, but we were limited. And so while on one hand, in the moment it felt defeating, like it felt like it was not a good use of time, it was a failure in that moment. But for me, I know that the emotions will pass. I know that there are lessons that we learned throughout that process. So I didn't allow that one small limitation influence the day after. And the next day, we were back at working at other processes, and some of the lessons we learned, even for example, the visual mapping that we did to showcase the process and opportunities for improvement, that same mapping technique was applied to a different process, and that other process did not have this regulatory limitation. So even though in the first example, the outcome was not achieved, the process of collaboration and development that we applied actually strengthened our team and our skill set, and then we took that forward to other areas. So I think part of this is like what you were saying, that even if your first idea of what the success should be doesn't always come in that same form that you envision, there are often small successes on the way, and then a small pivot can bring that success into something else. So yeah, I think emotions are a big part of it. And it's good to like feel those difficult emotions. Feel the sense of loss, the sense of failure, the sense of sadness or frustration. But then when the time is right, get back into a mindset of being optimistic and collaborative and humble, and humbled to learn from any errors, to learn from any limitations in your experiences, and then like have that thirst to bring what you did learn and what you can apply to the next chapter. So yeah, I think humility is a really important concept for anyone, because we all no one's perfect. We all learn so much from each other. We all learn from life experiences such as failures. And it's that humility that helps us to reach out to others, to collaborate, to get support, and then to to continue to grow and to work. And I think it draws in people to a humble person to want to work with that person, and to build solutions. Versus, on the other hand, someone who is arrogant or commanding and controlling and not a great team player. I think it's a different dynamic. So I think what I'm trying to say is, in the face of failure or face of a challenge, there are a lot of lessons, but then your demeanor in dealing with it and your demeanor amongst your team in dealing with it can make it even more fruitful, like with a humble, gentle spirit.
Yeah. Interesting. I was just thinking that, it's very important for people to understand that in your examples of what you're doing right now, there are two major trends that you're going into, right? You either build a business out of it, or you invest in real estate. So those two things are two things that people need to understand that they can get wealthy on. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen a billionaire yet from a salary. Have you?
Yes, I have not either.
So I'm thinking, the only two things that I've seen people get wealthy are real estate or businesses.
Yep.
What are your preferences here? What do you want to do, and how do you want to develop this for yourself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. No, I have a wonderful fiance. We talk about this exact question a lot, and I think being an employee in the corporate world is wonderful, and I think it gives us so much stability and support to learn and grow professionally. I think the other side you're talking about when it comes to running a company versus being an investor, those are also require continuous growth and learning, and really, in my opinion, they do require some focus. So for us, we actually have to make a bit of a decision. We don't have 100 hours in a day. We're limited in our time and energy, and so we do need to prioritize, like you said. And our probable direction is going to be to really focus on the business development and growing our company. Mm-hmm. And I think the reason is that we enjoy the way that it serves others. We enjoy the fact that it really is limitless. It can really grow in so many directions, and we want to flow with it and grow with it. I think it's also really exciting to think about in the business world how you create structures and you create systems, and you have many happy people, and when you can help those happy people be successful and provide enough compensation for them to support their families, you can really build a machine of talent, and that to me is very exciting. I'd love to be able to get to that stage, to be able to do that, and we're learning every day on how to get there. On the other hand, real estate, while I love real estate as a hobby and as an investment, I think as a business, in my experience so far, it's a little less scalable. From what I've seen, and maybe it's just the way we're doing it, there needs to be a lot more careful planning and execution to achieve the vision. I guess I could not really trust others to take on a project in the same way I would, in terms of the small details and the finishes, and that's what makes real estate tricky in my experience so far. But many people do it differently. So it's just, I only know what I've learned so far from real estate, and so real estate I think will continue to be a hobby, and we'll probably try to maybe do 1 or 2 projects a year. So it remains a hobby, not a full business. So if someone could scale real estate, there must be a way, and maybe I just haven't tapped into it yet. So that's what I see as real estate not being that scalable. But the company development side, it is very scalable, because when we develop a process that adds value, we help complete that transaction of value where a customer is happy, the business is generating some revenue, some profit. That cycle, as it occurs, thousands of times, we grow, we get better, we grow our outreach, our marketing grows, our brand grows. And so it really is an asset that grows with every small experience. And that's what's really interesting about it. So that's kind of how we're trying to prioritize. And then when we do our project with the houses, we put a lot of effort into it, but then we sell the asset. so the longevity is not quite there. But of course, we do grow our skill set from project one to project two. We do grow our skill set. So I have a lot more to learn about both these sides. But I'm thinking if we had to pick between these two, we'll kind of make the real estate the hobby and the business development a bigger priority.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Yeah,
I'd love to hear about your experience as well.
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, real estate is a business, and when you get to a bigger scale of doing things, it is scalable, but it's its own animal in itself. You have to focus on that
Yes.
solely. But yeah, it's interesting with where you got so far in your enterprises. If you would look back to when you started this thing, with what you know right now, what kind of advice would you give to yourself?
Just about these two enterprises in particular. Yeah. I would probably say that, with real estate, it is great to, it's great to continue to take on some of the direct leadership and implementation, but then seek that mentorship and seek that growth in terms of scaling and learning more about the opportunities and roadmaps. I think so far I only know the one project at a time, but there might be different ways. So I think it's a good starting point, and I'm glad that the experience has been learning from experience. But now maybe it's time to learn from others and learn from other great teams and systems that have really grown in that space. So that'd be for real estate, and then from the health and wellness venture, I think. I think it really comes down to just building a great, talented team at its core and having great colleagues to work with on the space, colleagues that bring different perspectives to grow the company. I think the space is interesting because it's moving. Even with it's actually political. Even with our as the political administration changes, as the FDA's regulations changes around different scopes of products and services, the space will change as well. So it's a very fluid space. And so, the types of products and services one offers will change over time, which is a good thing. But I think at the core leadership level of the company, you need to have really talented people who work well together that can adapt to what the market needs, to what the market is allowed to offer, and then ways to continue to grow. I think achieving market share in this space is a valuable skill set. So I think having that strategic leadership from that standpoint, I think will be critical. And we need more of that for sure.
Where do you want to go from now this year? What's coming up? What's going to be new?
Yeah, so it's actually with all the professional talk we've had today, I think that's really describing how busy this year has been for us. But we are luckily planning for a little bit of a break to focus on some personal things. I'm actually at my wedding happening next spring, so my goal is to close off or at least complete a large part of some of our projects. So at least the business can grow. The real estate, maybe we'll just let the current projects reach their maturity, and then once we have our wonderful wedding, we have a little bit of a rest. I think that those next couple months will be a time for reflection as well to think through when we come back after the wedding and when we're feeling recharged. Where do we want to focus? And I think so far from what I've seen, I think the growth opportunity for us will be again to focus on our business, but part of it too is actually allowing us to become more influential and using the marketing channels that exist. We're in a great era right now of social media. People like yourself are hosting great podcasts to allow for community engagement, sharing of great knowledge, and I think learning to one day myself not be shy and get in front of the camera and share some great content. I think that's going to help us. I think we're in a great place here in Florida where a lot of people are really comfortable in front of the camera and sharing some of their things that they're passionate about. So that part of why I think that's important is because I think that will strengthen our brand to really create our brand identity and create that deeper connection with our clients. So while it'll help our business, I think it'll help me as a person, as a creative, to really just get myself out there and connect with people like yourself who are also doing the same thing and creating content, creating value for others in this beautiful media-driven world that we're in with this great technology that we have at our fingertips.
So how can people know more about Nuvo Life Health?
Oh yeah, we'd love to connect. Yeah, no, thank you for the opportunity to share this. Our company is we're just in growing phases, but we'd love to just meet great collaborators, meet great patients, and just serve others. Always at our core. So probably the easiest way is through Instagram. We have a page that you can always follow. It's the handle is at Nuvo_life, so NUVO_life. Nuvo Life, kind of the word Nuvo means new, and we think that we call it new life wellness because we really think that all of us have the opportunity to step into a new chapter of health and happiness tomorrow. And if it doesn't happen tomorrow, it could happen the next day. And there really is no limitations to when someone makes that choice to really put their health as a priority, and the benefits of doing that we hope will extend to every single chapter of their life, to their relationships as well. So health, we think, is a core part of overall life, happiness, and wellness. So Nuvo Life is our handle. We also have our website, nuvolifehealth.com, and we have our assistants who are always available to chat with clients over text, and we love to connect with people and just share good vibes.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
I thank you so much for being here. It's an interesting concept you developed with your company, and I think a lot of people will relate to your ideas. So,
Thank you.
I encourage everybody to check out those things. Thanks for coming.
Thanks so much for having us. It's wonderful. Pleasure to chat with you today.
Are you a busy medical professional striving to excel in life and work? Stellar Success Podcast brings you the habits and insights of top leaders in medicine and beyond. Discover strategies for balance, growth, and fulfillment in every episode. Follow us on Instagram at Stellar Success Podcast for daily inspiration. Start your journey to success today. Subscribe to the YouTube channel now.
That's a wrap on Stellar Success, Leveling Up for Medical Pros with Dr. Tudor Francu. Interested in joining us? Go to stellarsuccesspodcast.com/guest to apply. Stay stellar and level up.